Take 50. Hi everyone, my name is Lupita and I am currently at a little mini beach getaway. They actually have Amazon Prime here and I don't own Amazon Prime, and they have Daisy Jones and the Six on it and I've been wanting to watch it, so that is currently what I am watching and I cannot stop watching it. It's really good and it is exactly like the book. I'm really enjoying it so far. Anyways, enough about that. Today I wanted to talk to you all about some of my favorite fantasy books. And just so you know, I used to read a lot of fantasy books when I was little, and I kind of went back and forth between fantasy and romance books. But recently I started reading more romance books and kind of stopped reading fantasy books. But I stopped reading romance books now because one, Ryan Shea ruined my life in the best way possible, and two, the Binding 13 Boys of Tommen series also ruined romance books for me. I can't find any romance books that I truly enjoy and love and they make my heart race or anything like that because of those two books. So I decided to go from romance books to fantasy romance books. So in this video I kind of wanted to talk to you about some of the books that I read while I was growing up and some of the most recent fantasy book finds that I found. And for the first one, I wanted to talk to you about this series, which is Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. So in this series, it follows a girl, her name is Rose, and her best friend Lisa. Rose is a damper and Lisa is a Moroi, and they escape from an academy, which is the school that they go to, and they're underage and living on their own for a bit, but they find them and they are sent back to the academy, and Rose really wants to be Lisa's bodyguard when she graduates from school. So they tell her that she has to be on her best behavior in order for her to be able to graduate and be with Lisa for the rest of their lives. So she gets placed with somebody who is also a damper, and his name is Dimitri, and he is supposed to teach her how to train and stuff like that. And so this series is really good because there is a slow burn romance, and it's kind of a grumpy meets grumpy as well as forced proximity. So it really has a lot of that, and there are 6 books in this series, so you can really see how the characters are able to grow and the feelings for each other grow, and you can tell how much they really care about each other when you read them. And so this series is pretty good, but I don't love it as much as her next series, which is this series, which is Bloodlines. I can't even tell you how many times I've read this series back to back for the past 4 years. Every single year I would read this series, and it is still as good as I remember it when I read it in high school. So this series follows 2 of the characters from the previous series, and it's essentially Sydney and Adrian. Sydney is somebody that is called an alchemist, and in the description of this book it says that an alchemist is essentially one of a group of humans who dabble in magic and serve to bridge the worlds of humans and vampires. They protect vampire secrets and human lives. So that is what Sydney's character is, and Adrian is a Moroi. So Adrian's group, there's a bunch of Morois that she is assigned to babysit and clean up the mess that is made, and so she doesn't really want to do it, but she has to because it's her job. So she is hired as a babysitter, and this series is also 6 books long, and the reason why I really love this series much more than the previous series that I just talked about is because there is a very slow burn in this series, more of a slow burn than the previous series. It is also forced proximity, and it is a forbidden romance in the sense that they are literally not supposed to be together, and the little moments between them makes you have butterflies and your heart is racing when you see their interactions together. And it's the little things also that he does for her that makes me really love the romance in this particular series. So what I would recommend that you do is that you read the previous series in order for you to get a gist of the whole world and for you to understand the characters, since they also appear in this series, and then read this series because this one is the best series from the two. So after these two series, I would say that another one of my favorites is going to be this one, which is The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. And I grew up reading the Mortal Instruments series and I really liked it, but I think I like this one so much more, and it's essentially the prequel to the Mortal Instruments. It follows a girl, her name is Tessa, and Tessa is essentially sent to London because her brother was the one that told her to come. And when she gets to London, she doesn't find her brother. Somebody else gets to her first, and she finds out that she has powers, right? And so the Shadowhunter Institute tells her that she can go and live with them. She can figure out more of her power situation, as well as they promised that they would help her try to find her brother, since she hasn't heard from him since she arrived in London. Like, there has been no contact, no anything, and she's worried about him. So they said that they would essentially be able to help her try to find him, and she could stay there for free. So in this series, what I really loved is the writing in this is so beautiful, and you really fall in love with the characters and their friendship, and there's a love triangle. It's so good. But also within this series, literally I just read it a few, like maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I reread them, and this book, the third book, the epilogue, literally shattered my soul all over again. I sobbed like a baby as if I hadn't already read it, and it's still so heartbreaking, but I would read it all over again just to delve into their world once more. And after this series, I think the most recent fantasy finds that I found, since I just started reading fantasy books maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. So another one of my favorites would be this, which is Six of Crows, and obviously Kanej, but also it's like Prison Break mixed with Money Heist. And there is it's basically about a band of misfits. It's 6 of them, and they are hired to do an impossible job and break somebody out. So that's why it gives kind of Money Heist and Prison Break. It's very action packed, and there is a slow burn romance, like the slowest slow burn that feels like you're gonna die if they don't get together. And also there are 2 characters in this series. Their name are Nina and Matthias. If you've seen Game of Thrones, then you know that Jon Snow and Ygritte, literally their relationship reminds me of Nina and Matthias so much, and that had me giggling and squealing whenever their points of view would be shared. It jumps between each character's points of view, all 6 of them, so you are able to really understand the characters and connect with each and every one of them, and it is such a fun time. And it literally, it's one of those page turners, like something happens and you feel like they're gonna get caught or killed or something like that, and you need to just keep on reading, like binge reading, because you need to find out what ends up happening. So it really keeps you on your toes, and it is such a great read. For the last set of books that I wanted to talk about is this, which is of course Sarah J Maas, Crescent City. So please don't kill me, but I did not read ACOTAR. I have not read ACOTAR or Throne of Glass because they seemed intimidating in a way. I know I've read series with 6 books in them, but it felt too much. And I figured if I read this, then it would be better because there's only 2 books in this series so far. But I know that I have to read ACOTAR and Throne of Glass before I can read the next book in this series, just so I'm not really confused. On Prime Day, I actually got both of the series because I knew that I was gonna get them eventually, and since they were discounted, I figured I would save money now instead of wasting more money on them in the future. So technically I saved money. This series follows a girl, her name is Bryce, and she was around when there was a murder where she lives, and then after that, 2 years later, there was another murder that was found. And so they hire her to try to figure out what happened during that time period and why these murders are happening. And so she gets assigned to a fallen angel, and his name is Hunt, to try to figure out the mystery behind why everybody is getting murdered. It's also very action-packed, and it jumps between POVs as well. Like each character, there's a lot of different characters, so you get to really understand all of the characters and fall in love with them. And it's funny, and there's also a slow burn in this series that's not like a very, very slow burn. But what I really loved about this series is that there's a lot of respect between the characters, and you can really tell that they can bare their souls to each other, and there will be no judgment, and everyone has each other's backs, and it's really lovely to see that. And I know that these books are ginormous, but they are so good and entertaining, and trust me, you'll literally fall in love with everybody in this series, and you'll want to read more of what happens to them. So I definitely recommend that you check them out. That is all for today's video. See you next time. Bye.